What is up, guys? This is Lentheo coming at you with an April 1st ban list discussion. Now, ban list was revealed on Friday the 20th of March and I was away that weekend, so couldn't really do anything up to date, but this is going to be my just ban list discussion. I always kind of do them a little bit after, just because I like to have a think about it and how it's going to affect the meta, and basically just all things considered. So we'll go straight into it. So the banned cards are all the Dragon Rulers and Snatch Steal. So all the Dragon Rulers were hit, to my discontent and anger, because I now can't play Dark Matter Heretics the way that I wanted to. And yes, it's quite funny, the fact that I put up a combo video and a deck profile and then a day later it got hit. Yeah, I know, I was a bit of a laughing stock there in the community, but nevertheless. But in all fairness, it's probably due, because the reason they're getting hit is because in the OCG there's a lot of rank 7 support coming out with obviously the Red Eyes, and just in general, Dark Matter Heretics is a pretty disgusting deck. You can OTK with just 2 cards, and it's probably warranted because, in all fairness, it's a bit unfair. Snatch Steal was one that never really should have come back, but I actually commend Konami for actually trying the card out in this format, because it's just good to see them actually proactively thinking about different cards that are in the formats that are banned and seeing how they actually will do. Hopefully they'll learn that cards like that are so unbalanced and so unfair should never have an actual place in the meta at any point. The only way that a format that Snatch is never going to be good at, if it becomes some form of like amoeba format where changing control actually is a negative thing, like it does damage to the person who controls it or something like that. But nevertheless, it was warranted, and that's kind of just how it should be. To newly limited, the Sinister Serpent, Tour Guide, Dragon's Ravine, Preparation of Rites, Sacrifice, Symbols of Heritage, Temple of Kings, Crush Card, Exchange of the Spirits, Ring of Destruction, Skill Drain, Vanity's Emptiness. Straight off, it appears that Konami don't like Floodgates anymore. Hitting Skill Drain and Vanities is pretty big in my opinion, because those cards kept a lot of decks in check. Flipping of Vanities really stopped decks, you know, that really rely on special summoning, and Skill Drain just kind of hit anything that was really monster heavy. So I'm kind of in two minds about those two being hit, but at the same time I think it's actually good. I think it's healthy for the game to keep a card that's so devastating like Skill Drain at 1, because it is completely devastating. And you know, maybe decks coming out that in the future formats, they're gonna be able to abuse it. So I think that it's actually a good thing, and the same with Vanities. With all the other cards like Sinister Serpent, you know, the newly errated cards, we all knew they were coming, let's face it. With the gold reprints, it was gonna happen. Sinister Serpent's not really gonna make a change on the meta at all. Temple of Kings won't either, really. Crush Card's the only one out of these, and maybe Ring of Destruction, of course, with now how the new rulings have been updated, where that if damage is taken even during a chain and it's reduced to 0, or if you can't physically draw a card in a chain, then the duel immediately ends. With Ring of Destruction, I'm pretty sure you take the damage first, so therefore if your life points go to 0 in the chain, you know, it's game over. One that everyone's kind of unsure about is Symbol of Heritage. That simply hit because of some stupid kind of loops you can do, especially with Nodin. And I think that now that Symbol of Heritage has been hit, Nodin is basically now confirmed in the Superstar pack, because Nodin is a pretty big reason for that card to get hit, and it just means that you can't really abuse it as such. And now you can still abuse it with Refusion, I think it is, but nevertheless, that card just promoted some pretty stupid loops. One of the bigger ones is Tour Guide. Tour Guide was basically hit because of Burning Abyss. Now I know that nothing else really got hit in Burning Abyss. It's just kind of something that was unexpected, but also kind of expected as well. This is because it's just so easy to chew to Tour Guide and Burning Abyss cards from the deck, and also with maybe in the cloths kind of not being able to do certain things, it just means that the Jimmer Releaser would maybe be put into other decks. Maybe there might be a Burning Abyss type deck where, you know, they really utilize their actual ritual summon, but maybe I'm just stretching there. I think Djinn probably should have been hit, but nevertheless. Preparation of Rites is the first hit for N'Kloths, and this kind of makes me pretty angry, simply because Konami have created a ritual archetype that can use Preparation of Rites. But now that they've created something that's so broken, they've had to address it. And what have they done? They've hit Preparation of Rites to 1, and that basically just makes playing any other form of ritual deck that, utilizes levels 6s or lower completely dead. Herald of Perfection now can't really function. I know that Manju, Sendra, and Sonic Bird are still a thing, but people who kind of don't really know how to play the deck, or just look at it and aren't, without sounding too big-headed, aren't completely experienced in how the deck runs, which I am, it really, really hurts the deck. And I now won't be playing a level 6 Herald of Perfection because it's now just too impossibly slow. You would have to add in other cards to try and make up for the loss of Preparation of Rites. That means including things like Sonic Bird and Senju, but the dead draws that come from that are unbelievable. And you lose one of the most important combos where you use Lavalva Chain to send ARA to the graveyard, which is Advanced Ritual Art, and then add it back to hand with Preparation of Rites. So it really hurt that. I'm really not happy about it, but at the end of the day, it has to be done. And Sacrifice as well, it was warranted. Sacrifice is a stupid card. It has 4 effects. One card that tutors 4 effects that are all good should not be in the game because it's way, way too strong in my opinion. Newly semi-limited, we have Scout, we have Brian Arc, Shien, Charge of Light Brigade, and then Sacred Swords of 7 stars. Scout, yeah, that was going to probably come, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really make that much of a difference if you really think about it because you can search it so easily in the deck. Brian Arc, they actually hit Nakloths with an actual Nakloth-based card, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. Again, I still think Nakloths are going to be one of the best decks of the format. Shien, Samurais might make a bit of a comeback because a lot of the deck is there. A lot of the deck can be used, just I'm glad Gateway isn't at 1 or anything else because that card is stupid. Charge of Light Brigade, it's, Light Swans are starting to go to their full potential again, and you might see more Light Swan engines in there because Charge can actually be utilized a couple more times now. But it won't really make that much of a difference, and Sacred Sword 7 stars, they should just put it to 3 because the rulers are gone. And then finally, newly unlimited, we have Fire Fist Spirit, and then all the baby dragons, then Bestiari, Gauze, Lone Fire, Goyo, and Heretic Seal of Convocation. Just want to say, screw you, Konami, for putting Convocation to 3, and now, banning the ruler, but nevertheless, full strength, rank 6 Heretics, certainly nice to see that come back to power. Gauze is a very interesting one, and one that, decks that don't use any back row is actually going to really flourish. So decks that I use, like maybe even Heretics, I might use it in, Junk Doppel and everything like that. Decks that really get a boost from having no back row, having 3 Gauze is very, very nice. And it's one thing that people are now going to have to fear attacking into again, because it's just a thing. Gauze is a problem. It can be a very big problem if you don't plan for it being dropped. Bestiari, Gladiator Beasts, everyone's been crying out for that card to come back. And do I think they're actually going to make an actual difference in the meta? Maybe, but it's just kind of, I don't think they have the power enough anymore. I think it is just simply they are a tier 2 deck, and that's probably where they're going to stay unless they get some indirect support. Goyo Guardian's just kind of one that is expected. It's done nothing at 1, it's done nothing at 2, so it just makes sense for it to go to 3. Overall, the ban list is a pretty fair ban list in my opinion. They've hit main decks, they have kind of just hit them in different ways, shape or form. Overall, Quillforth got the biggest hit with the Scout to 2, the Sacrifice to 1, and the Skill Drain and Vanities to 1, because obviously we all know they used them a lot. Skill Drain in Quillforth was just stupid. It just meant that you could summon a monster, and then all of a sudden it just become a massive beater. It was very unfair, and I feel that it is actually a good hit. The list overall is, as I said, pretty fair. I think it's one of the best lists they've had in a while. I think they've really understood how things are shaping up in the meta and really how to combat it. I know a lot of people are kind of angry with certain things, like a lot of the Dragon Rulers, and don't get me wrong, I'm also one of those that's kind of just really sad. I would have liked to have an actual format where I could play Dark Matter at full strength, but nevertheless, it's for the greater good of the format. And the only thing that I have a real problem with is the Preparation of Rites, but that's simply because it's me playing an older deck. And let's face it, Konami and a lot of people don't care about old decks like Herald because there's just no need for it to be in there. But it also means that they're actually pushing, inadvertently pushing Herald of Ultimateness, because that doesn't need Preparation of Rites. It can't use Preparation of Rites. And also, it just means that that deck, that version of the deck, hasn't really been hit. So you'll expect a deck profile of that for me. But overall, I think the ban list is good. I think it's fair, and I think, you know, they've done well with it. Some people might disagree with me, or a fair few might, but I think it's an actual fair ban list when we look on reflection of the previous formats, and I think that it actually just blows the format wide open with, you know, rogue decks being able to come back and actually have a good stand against the meta. It was very difficult for non-meta decks to kind of go up against these massive speedy decks like Nekloffs that could just lock you out instantly and have the consistency of a deck like we've never known. It's so unfair to go up against decks like Quillfort at full power where they had the skill drain and vanities. You know, you had to get around a monster that couldn't be destroyed if it had Sacrifice, and even if you managed to get rid of it, Sacrifice would get its effect off. It'd just go back to the top of the extra deck to be used for a later Pendulum summon. So it just means that it's actually fair. Overall, I really do like the ban list, apart from a couple of gripes that I now can't play Herald of Perfection. I can technically, but there's just no point. There's literally no point me playing the deck because it's just dead. And that's the thing that I take away from the ban list personally, because it's just, for me, I think it's just unfair. But at the end of the day, for the other decks that I play, for the format that I want to play in competitively, I feel much happier with how the the game runs. And I think that a lot of people are actually going to start coming back, because this format is going to probably be one of the most exciting formats that I foresee in a very long time. So I want to know what you guys think of the actual ban list now that it's been out for a few days. Do you think it's a pretty fair list? Do you think it's good that they've actually given other decks a chance now with bumping up some support? And also, you know, Lonefire is an interesting one for plants and Sylvans to start making a bit of a comeback. So everything is pretty interesting. So as I said, let me know down in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I shall catch you guys later.